Hello everyone. Today I want to talk about the topic of dodging and how to use your flight to precisely avoid getting hit by attacks and how to use it to set up counterattacks. In this video we're going to be going over when to dodge, what your goals should be while dodging, and we're also going to be going over the different types of dodging and both when to and how to use them. With that out of the way, let's start the actual video. First, let's talk about when to dodge. If you're already in a position when your shots will reach your enemies before any of their shots can reach you, then your main goal should be on aiming accurately and attacking. If you already have the advantage in a fight, you don't want to give it up. When you have the upper hand, focus on attacking. You want to press your advantage whenever you have the upper hand, because if you don't press that advantage, you're giving your enemy time to recuperate and find a way to turn the tables on you. So when you have the advantage, press it. But if that is not the case and it looks like you're going to be hit by your enemy's shots before you can do anything, or it looks like you're going to be losing the fight, then that's when you need to focus on dodging. When it comes to dodging, something that new players seem to forget a lot is that avoiding projectiles is not by any means, it is not your only goal. When it comes to dodging, your primary biggest goal isn't to survive, it's to set up a counterattack. And obviously you need to survive to do that, but unless you're trying to set up a counterattack, you're just wasting your enemy's time and you're going to lose the fight anyway. You need to be looking for opportunities and ways to turn things to your advantage. While you're dodging, you need to know where you are going to go, at least in a general sense, and how you're going to get there, and focus on getting into those advantageous positions where you have the upper hand instead of your enemy. When you're dodging, you don't just wait for opportunities to come to you or to find some magical advantage to appear out of thin air. You need to be searching for these advantages. You need to create opportunities for yourself. And that can either be an opportunity to counterattack, or maybe if things are looking really bad, it's an opportunity to escape. But you need to create opportunities for yourself, not just wait for them to come to you. You need to sort of try and think 2 steps ahead of your enemy and use dodging to get into a spot where you have the advantage. Think of dodging as sort of like a filler that you can just shove into any fight when things aren't looking good. That's what it is. Dodging gives you a time to recuperate, maybe get out of midair or wherever it was that you weren't in a position to fight from, and get into a spot where you can now defend yourself properly. So that's really the key thing that is very important for any new player watching this to understand before we get into the specifics of how to dodge. You need to understand what mindset you need to have while you're dodging. You need to be making a conscious effort to think about how you're going to win the fight, at least in a general sense. You should have some sort of plan on how you're going to turn things around, how you're going to get the upper hand. Don't just flip around in the air mindlessly, or again, all you're doing is wasting your enemy's time and you're going to lose the fight anyways. You need to have some sort of plan and work to dodge into positions where you have the advantage, and then you counterattack. That's the kind of mindset you need to hold on to when you're dodging. So as long as you have that mindset understood and locked down, because you're going to need to keep that mindset while you're doing these dodges that I'm going to be talking about, let's get into now the specifics of how to dodge. There are 2 main types of dodging in Ninja.io. There's predictive dodging and there's reactive dodging. Now, whenever possible, you'll mainly want to be dodging predictively. The concept of dodging predictively is pretty simple. It just means that you need to keep an eye on where your opponent is and what they're doing, maybe where their weapon is pointing, maybe they just picked up a grenade box. Just keep in the back of your mind, be aware of what they are doing. And by doing this, you can get a general idea of where they're going to shoot at and where they're likely to shoot at. Obviously, when you're doing this, you also want to take into account briefly their weapon limitations. For example, if they're using a pulse gun, they're going to be able to hit different areas than they are if they're using, say, a barrette. And so you just want to keep that in mind as well. So you want to, by having this like general subconscious idea of where your enemy is and what they can do, where they're likely to shoot, you can identify which areas are dangerous spots, basically. And then you use your flight to try and stay out of those areas while you dodge towards positions that you can attack from. So, to break it down, you just want to use your flight to stay out of dangerous zones or harm's way until you are in a good position to attack. And again, don't just wait for an opportunity to present itself magically. Try and create opportunities for yourself. Search for cover, search for grenade boxes, med kits, or even maybe just a position that you know you can shoot accurately from. Find anything nearby that can give you an advantage, and then dodge towards those things. While you're doing this, try your best to stay out of your enemy's line of fire, but if you do have to enter the line of fire, make sure you use your flight to move through them as quickly as possible. And the best way to do this is through building a bit of momentum with your flight, which I talked about in my video on how to use your flight in Ninja.io. So you can check that out if you want more details on that. So this type of dodging is called predictive dodging because you are predicting where your enemy can shoot, where they're likely to shoot, and doing your best to stay out of those areas. So you are essentially, you're trying to dodge shots that haven't even been fired yet. You're predicting where they're likely to shoot and then doing their best to not get shot by not being there. And by doing that, you can avoid taking all damage altogether if you do this properly and with a bit of luck. And, then you give yourself a wonderful opportunity to set up a counterattack. And so if you can dodge predictively, you want to. This is something that you want to be doing in every fight because when it works well. And it's really, really, really important if you want to dodge well in this game. Now, just to make a brief note on how using your flight to dodge predictively can be done, since you do need to move pretty quickly with it. While you're dodging predictively, make sure that you are tapping your flight key a lot to make quick rolls whenever you need to redirect yourself. There are times when you'll end up holding the flight key for a bit, but never for a very long time. You want to use your flight in combination with rolls to stay really agile and on your toes. Make sure that you use your movement keys in combination with your flight as well to do this. And like I said earlier, try and build momentum wherever you can. You want to move quickly, but with purpose. Know where you're going, why you're going there. Don't move randomly ever. You should always have a general idea of where you want to go and how you're going to get there. By using your flight like this, you can really make sure your character is mobile and you have lots of different directions to dodge into at all times. So if something unexpected happens, you're not just, like dead. You have an opportunity to escape still. You want to stay very on your toes, like I said earlier. So dodging predictively is something, again, you want to be doing all the time. If you're not in a good spot to attack, dodge using this strategy to either set up a counterattack or to quickly retreat if you have to. If you aren't doing this dodging strategy when you play, you should definitely start incorporating it or at least try to. Dodging predictively is really important, and being able to do it well is going to help you win a surprisingly very high amount of fights. The second type of dodging is called dodging reactively. This is where you use your flight to dodge projectiles that have already been fired and are already midair. So predictively is trying to dodge shots that haven't been fired yet, and reactively is trying to dodge shots that have already been fired. So dodging reactively is never your first choice. Ideally, if you can predict their movements and stay out of the way of their shots, that's the best. But you're not always going to be able to do that. So dodging reactively is your backup plan in case dodging predictively doesn't work and you're still not in a position to shoot. You never want to stand around and wait for your enemy to shoot before you move. You want to try and predict their movements first. But again, if that does fail, then this is where dodging reactively comes in. Dodging reactively relies on you looking where the enemy bullet is and using your flight to usually flip out of the way of whatever projectile is going to hit you. This is sort of what you think of when you traditionally think of dodging. This is a lot more reflex based and less strategical. So you can usually only use this type of dodging with slower moving projectiles like grenades or the M79. You can also use this, you can also use this strategy against weapons like the rifle and the shock rifle, and it works pretty well. So if you want to do that, what you're going to want to do, it might sound a little bit complicated at first, but you can do this quickly once you get the hang of it. What you're going to want to do is when you see the rifle or shock rifle being shot, what you're going to want to do is look at the bullets that are furthest from their weapon and closest to their weapon. So you want to look at sort of both sides of that bullet stream they're shooting. And by doing this, you can get a general idea of where their first shot is going to land and where their last shot is going to land. So then you can sort of predict where those shots are going to go and stay out of those areas. So that's something that's really important to use. It's something that helps me, at least, that I think is helpful. So basically, when you're dodging reactively, it relies on you predicting the flight path of whatever bullet or projectile is being launched towards you. You need to be able to predict the flight path, predict how that object is going to move through the air, how it's going to bounce, all those things, and do your best to stay out of that area. So whether you're dodging predictively or reactively, you may have noticed already, your ability to succeed always depends on how well you can predict the flight path bullets will take and where your enemy is likely to shoot. So regardless of whether you're trying to rely on your reflexes or your strategy, ideally you should be using both, but in either case, what's coming into play is your prediction skills. And once you make accurate predictions, you then need to use your flight to avoid whatever areas are dangerous and dodge while you move towards areas you can fire from safely, or in other words, where you have the advantage. The most important part about improving something like your dodging or your flight skills in Ninja.io really is that you're consciously trying to improve them. That means you need to work on incorporating new strategies in every match you play. And don't just play the same way every day. Keep practicing and keep trying. Because these things aren't easy to do. I mean, you can't play the game for, say, a week and then be able to accurately predict how an enemy is going to react or get a general sense of where their bullets are going to land every time. This is something that you need practice to do, and it's okay if you don't get it at first. Just keep practicing, keep trying, and eventually you'll all become, I'm sure you can all become masters of dodging. You just need the dedication to it, and you need to be making the effort. Because again, if you're just playing and playing and playing, but you're not making any sort of conscious effort or trying to improve, then, I mean, sure, you'll still slowly get better, but somebody who's actually consciously trying to improve, consciously trying to work new strategies into their gameplay is going to surpass you very quickly. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you got something out of this video. I know that this video was a bit more complicated than most of my other guides, and doing this stuff sort of relies on a bit of experience already, so it might be difficult for newer players, but dodging is a really important part of the game, which is why I tried to go into a little bit of depth on this subject. So hopefully this sort of helped. The main goal of this video isn't to somehow magically implant knowledge, like gift knowledge to you so you can then just like understand everything, because again, it's not possible. What is possible is I can try and set you on the right path if you're a new player, try and help you understand what works for me. At least different players use different strategies, but these are the things that work for me. So what's important isn't that you copy the strategies I'm using. What's important is that you start thinking about these things, start experimenting with them and trying them for yourself. Maybe you'll discover a strategy that's better than mine, who knows? But you need to try and consciously experiment with these things and consciously improve. So that's why I make these sorts of videos. But anyways, hopefully this helped, and I hope that it did. And if it didn't, or if you want clarification on something, you can feel free to leave a comment down below, and I'll make sure to have a look at those. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video.